Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and welcome to Heroic Dimensius. So this is 30-person mode on this fight. It's pretty similar on the lower difficult or lower group sizing as well. You start off just like on normal by porting over to the boss. One of the tanks is going to want to grab the boss, that's me here, and just get far away from the two side groups that are killing those ads, because the tank getting auto-attacked knocks back people near them, just like the lower difficulty. Does do even more damage, though. You want to kill your ad, pick up the, we called it the cheeseburger that left behind. When you pick up the cheeseburger that the ad drops, it makes you extra massive. And then once the two people with the cheeseburger collide, you get that safety zone. Now, for the first Devour cast, you only need that to happen. For the second Devour cast in this fight, you're going to need 4 people instead of 2 to collide and to make their zones. So after that, the boss did that tank knockback, knocking everybody away from the tank. Much bigger knock on Heroic than it is on normal. And then you want to place these puddles towards the edges of the room and try and be really good about your first puddle placements, putting them as far away in the spots that you least care about polluting, so that you can have a nice clean platform for the rest of the fight. Again, you want to kill these 2 ads and get these 2 more cheeseburgers. I'm carrying one of them right now. And you want to then make sure that you have those ads dead and the cheeseburgers collected in time to grip down your friends and stand underneath them when they get that gravity. They should go to the back of the platform, the 2 people targeted by that. And then make sure to not be in the circle when they go up, because it will yoink you up as well. Then we get another tank knockback. So I have to go into the middle and taunt the boss here, dropping a puddle. And you can see we drop some of these tank puddles in the very middle here, because that's sort of where they have to go, although I could have done it a little bit more nicely than that. These third and fourth excess masses of the side now are dying, dropping cheeseburgers 3 and 4. You got to be really careful when you're picking up cheeseburgers 1 and 2, because sometimes you can be picking them up right as the reverse gravity people are being targeted, and you're not an eligible target if you're already holding the cheeseburger for the reverse gravity. But if you do it the other way around, you can get targeted and then pick up a cheeseburger, and that's a bit of a disaster especially if it's the first set, because you won't have enough time to then get freed by the one other person who's still on the ground with a cheeseburger. But this phase just repeats that cadence then for the rest of the phase, where we'll do this tank smash, and then we're spreading. The spread drop here is really nasty. This third one is the one where you're in the most danger. You can see health bars are fluctuating wildly on the raid. And then as these hands come out, you want to make sure to never be standing where they spawn. And you just run in, you soak it down. You need to make sure that it gets soaked down before it explodes, but that can happen fairly quickly. And then again, picking up some cheeseburgers, reverse gravity people to the back, and you run in, pick it up, like stand underneath them, drag them down. And then that's just going to repeat again. We're going to get another smash, another spread, more hands to soak down. And then we get to a third Devour cast potentially here if you're slow on the DPS check. But at this point, once the boss is sub like 5%, it'll cancel any mechanics that it's doing once you get to 0. So you can kind of commit here. This spread is just don't overlap with somebody, try not to die, but you don't have to save any room on the platform, and you enter the second phase here. Now, in the second phase, you AFK for a little bit, then you can mount up, and you follow sort of Tindril style. You can follow Xalatath towards the platform. There are some basically bonus things that you can pick up along this path that we didn't know about. And when you pick them up, then you do like 5% damage to the ad on the platforms for free. We didn't know about that when we were doing this, but there are some off to the side. There's one like under the platform here. I'll put a link in the description to some Twitch clips where you can see all the different ones being collected. So if you really want to figure that out, you can do that. But yeah, we just did it without it, and the enrage was kind of tight on these platforms. So up first now we're fighting this Void Lord. It has the same frontal that it does on normal, but on Heroic the frontal leaves behind gunk. But you can aim the gunk at places that you're not going to need. So on this platform, I'm just aiming the gunk here through these Void Wardens because we're not going to use that space anyways. It's always going to be full of Void Wardens. The big important thing here is, in addition to killing that middle Void Warden so you can run to the other side if you need to grip the 2 Nullbinders onto your side. 1 DK is enough for this. 2 or more makes it free. And then you kill the Nullbinder, you stop them from casting their slow cast. So let's look at that again. We get to this phase at the start. The boss spawns these ads, and you can see they always spawn on opposite sides, but it can be, I think, either opposite quadrants can do this. And then, yeah, those null binders need to get gripped in insta and stopped from casting that slow. It's a 6-second cast, but it can very easily go off if you're not careful. It's a nasty dot, and it slows you, which makes traversing the sides very hard. Now, if the boss hits the right side of the platform with this first blast, the next time it does a blast, it's going to hit the left. So here we all move over to dodge this blast. You have to get pretty far to the side to be able to live here. And then the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to get pushed away from the boss. So you can either use a lot of movement abilities, get right to the front of the room, and avoid killing any of the middle line of Void Wardens, or you can do what we did and just kill off the Void Warden here, making a safe channel such that you can get knocked through it. Be careful, there's a frontal cone that this ad does right after you finish getting back to the middle of the platform. So try not to aim this in a bad way, but you can just aim it sort of safely off the edge here. And then we're getting blown backwards. This ad also stacks up a tank dot. You can see I have 5 stacks of this now, 6 stacks. It is kind of nasty. It does often naturally fall off. If you're a dodge tank, it's not too bad, but it is good to try and swap there. But yeah, you can see this time we know that because this was the safe side last time, we're going to have to move on the next cast. So we move over to the other side, and then we would, if we had less damage on this pull, we would have had to then either kill another Void Warden in the middle line so that we get pushed through to safety, or use again more movement speed. Now we can mount up again and fly to the second Phase 2 platform. This one is much the same, except instead of casting 2 frontal cones per cycle, the ad will instead cast 1 nova per cycle. And that nova is much more annoying in terms of the area that it denies, but at least it only casts it once per cycle instead of twice. So you have to pull it a little bit further away from the Void Wardens that you want to be killing and from the Null Binders. But you don't have to worry about after you go to one of the sides, having to immediately aim a frontal cone off the side here. So let's take a look at how this platform looks. I won't pause and rewind here. But yeah, you can see we pull towards Dimensius because we want to be on the quadrants towards Dimensius. Out come the ads. Again, we've got null binders on the other 2 quadrants there, gripping them in. But this time we have to bring the ad away because it's doing that Stardust Nova. We put that in the front of the room because we don't really care about that spot because we are killing one of the middle ads. If you weren't killing one of the middle ads, maybe you'd have to be a little bit more cognizant of where you were placing that void zone, but we just did it there so that we could continue cleaving somewhat efficiently. Now, somehow the wrong Void Warden seems to have died here. That was something that was happening for us some of the time. Maybe it was just we were cleaving weird, but yeah, it didn't matter because we ended up being on the safe side already. If we had to traverse the middle there, it would have been a little bit cringe. But yeah, you can see this time we're spawning the Null Warden actually on this side, but we're about to get a Nova, so again, the ad has to go away from where we want it to be. And then we're killing that middle Void Warden, making sure that we can get safely through. We know we're going to have to get through because it does the opposite sides, right? The 2 opposite sides. So we get through. Now we're safely over on the edge. And at this point, our damage is a little bit lower, right? We see the thing still has some pretty high health. Once this thing gets to 100 energy, actually, once Dimensius gets to 100 energy, this cast is locked in. The cosmic winds, the gamma rays or whatever, those are locked in. It's going to happen. So don't try and beat the cast if you're not going to be able to. And then that Eclipse cast right there was the enrage of this platform. So if you can't beat that Eclipse cast, you immediately wipe. But it's easier if you collect the things that do a bunch of damage for free. Now the last phase starts, trying to mark some of the tanks up here, but so somebody else is also trying to mark tanks at the same time. But yeah, we start off with a damage burn, boss taking, I believe, 50% increased damage here on Heroic for 10 or 12 seconds or something. Good time to get some free damage in. This is when we decide to use Bloodlust as well. This last phase is sweet. So it starts off, even after the damage amp is done, the boss now spends another 10 seconds just casting this Extinguish the Stars cast, spawning these 8, we called them planets. You call them stars as well, but these are safe zones during the Devour cast. Now, once again, if you're near the tank here, you're going to get knocked. Here come a set of rings. So let's take a look at these as they spawn. So the boss is going to cast the rings here, and immediately you can see here, here, and here. I believe it's always these 3 locations where the rings will spawn, but the order in which they're going to explode can vary. So this time you can see by which one the biggest rings are, which ones are going to explode first. So this one is the biggest ring, it's going to go first, then this one second, and then this one over here in the top right will be the third. And so what you want to do as the raid is go through the first one insta, as soon as it explodes, and then the second one you want to get through pretty quickly as well, as soon as your debuff falls off, and then you're hiding from the third one's wave until your debuff has once again fallen off. If you have stuff like Blinks, Void Elf Racial, Demonic Circle, Anti-Magic Shell, to mention just a few of the ways to get through it without taking the debuff. Actually, that's most of the ways. There's not a lot. It's not one of those things you can heroic leap through or anything. Then you can avoid stacks of the debuff. You can sometimes even circle or blink over the double if you set it up nicely. But for the most part, that's how you want to play this. So the raid is identifying where these are, and you can see they are moving to get near the first ring, on the side of the second ring that will be exploding. And they're instantly getting that debuff from the first ring exploding, and then as soon as their debuff falls off, they're going through the second, and then they're waiting, hiding from the third until it crosses over them as they have that debuff once again falling off, and they don't get multiple stacks of the debuff. Now I'm the tank, and I'm getting hit and knocking back people near me, so my job instead there is just take multiple stacks, but stay away from where my friends are so that I don't mess up their day. Now here comes the Devour, and we're hiding inside the planets once again, and then as soon as that's done, the boss is going to start picking planets to go supernova for a little while. That's fall-off damage when it explodes, so get nice and away from where it is. And then it turns into a black hole. Black holes are not good to go into. Do not stand in the black hole. It will instantly kill you. Do not walk into the middle of the Dimensius hitbox. It will instantly kill you. Either of those things happening is very bad, and it's very easy to have that happen to you because here comes Collapse. So the tank mechanic, you'll still get killed if you are inside the circle around the tank here, but everybody else is going to get gripped a little bit towards the tank. It's not a death grip, but it's sort of like you're getting pulled reasonably hard towards the tank. You can use, blinks and stuff away, and it'll only pull you about 20 yards towards the tank. So if you're really far away, it's okay. You're not going to get gripped all the way to the tank. But yeah, you want to make sure you're not like here, because then you're going to get gripped through the boss's hitbox. So what we did for this is we would always, so we'd get gripped towards the tank, right? Coming in here, and then circle tank is the one we're getting gripped to. And then we're following a circle tank out as well, and star tank is taunting the boss after this, and it's going to become the new dangerous tank. On this pull, we ran to the right. After this, we developed a strat on one of our future splits of the raid always runs left, which is sort of against the direction of the stars because people thought that was easier. I think Liquid were doing always run right. I think it makes sense to do always run in some direction just so that you aren't, that's an easier rule than like, okay, we're following the circle tank and let's see what he decides to do this time. Or we were doing like always come out the same direction you came in and try and go as a raid. But yeah, I think that people sometimes get split up and just figure out for yourself how to avoid getting killed on the grip into the tank, and then always running either left or right as the raid, and the tank that is just taunted runs the other way, is probably the best way to handle that mechanic. Then again, we're getting some more supernovae, so you want to make sure to go far away from those as they're exploding, because it is fall-off damage. And you gotta be careful about onking or coming out of angel form on this fight as well. If you do get insta-killed by either the boss, like by standing somewhere you're not supposed to, you'll spawn in a bad place to then hit onk or out of angel form. But yeah, this time you can see the rings. Now that I'm not actively tanking, I can show you what it looks like when you're trying to minimize stacks. So we see here that this ring is exploding first, right near us, and then to the right is the second, and to the left is the third. So I'm on the right side of the one that's exploding first. I'm on the side of the one that's exploding second, right? And I'm next to the one that's exploding first, instantly getting my debuff from the first one. As soon as my debuff falls off, I'm getting the second debuff, and then making sure to not take the third one. If you do it this way, you don't even have to flee from that third one. It will just naturally come into you at a good time. Now again, here comes the collapse. I think it makes sense as the tank to backstep a little bit from the boss here. Makes it a little bit less likely, right? Like if the tank is back over here a little bit more, then these people are getting gripped safely, not through the boss, instead of dangerously through the boss. It's a little optimization I think you can do on this fight. It's not that big a deal, but you can see when this tank smash started coming out, we were basically on the opposite side as the tank that's actively tanking, and so we had to run towards the tank had to run towards us, but it was all still good here. Plenty of time. A couple people, I think, did get spaghettified there, so yeah, do got to watch out for that. And then again, we do a tank swap here, so now, because it increases your damage taken, so you got to swap after that. Get another set of rings, but now more and more of the planets are black holes, so you have to be more and more careful. And it's very easy to get gripped through one of the planets as well on the tank mechanic too. So again, here, this time around, I don't get to be safe because I'm trying to stay away from my friends, right? Make sure that the AoE around the tank doesn't hit them. So that time I took all 3 stacks. When you're taking all 3 stacks, just try and take them as fast as possible so that you aren't extending a debuff as much as possible. Thing going supernova again. And that was pretty quick into the tank collapse, you could see. And we're hiding again soon. So once this Devour cast starts, now you do take a lot of damage from the Devour. You also take some from standing inside the planet, but it's not a huge amount. But you can duck into the planet late to avoid a little bit of extra damage. And again, by the time each Devour cast, the encounter area gets smaller and smaller, so things get more and more lethal. You get more and more likely to get gripped through one of these black holes if you're not careful. As you can see here, that's kind of exactly what went on as more and more of our raid is dying. So a little bit of an enraged timer here. That's part of the reason I think this is the best phase to Lust. It's the one that you sort of... It's not the hardest phase, but the end of this phase is the hardest. So if you can lop off the end of this phase, that will make your life a lot easier. Again, we've got the triple expanding ring. Again, I'm actively tanking here, so I'm just going to pop meta and take that 3 stack because I'm a tank and I can live it, and everybody else is trying to just get that 1 stack. Here comes that collapse again, so I just run over towards where my raid is and try and get them gripped so that they won't get killed. My other tank here accidentally runs into the boss, gets killed, so I have to adjust and live for a little bit with that debuff. Luckily, there's a last resort available. So yeah, not the cleanest kill there. You can see I open up my guild pane again as I try and hit H for health pot and hit J for guild tab. But that's it. That's Heroic Dimensius. Hope this video helped. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.